All right, welcome to the show. Third time on, this is, which I
You
think
got me on like a 12-month cycle. I appreciate it.
exactly. I think that equals like JK's been on three times as well. So you're equaling JK now, but you're topping the list with him.
Well, that's the goal for Worlds too, to to
True,
match JK, try to get to the top with him. So
true.
that's good. It's good that we are equal here.
um, I've been starting these with asking people like their why for competing in HYROX. Like, what is the motivator for you in doing that, or any sport that you've done in the past? Is there what is it for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about this a lot. I can get really wrapped up in the day to day and just kind of like the routine of everything, and I've felt like my why can potentially get lost just in that day to day. So for me, it is important to reflect whether it is like just sitting by myself journaling or when it's like just out on easy long runs, like really spending time thinking about this. For me, it's really about the process. I feel there's value in the pursuit of like excellence, right? Like trying to do something really well has carryover into many other aspects in life. So that's something that I've come on my personality, probably like a little indirectly, but I really kind of hone in on that in my most recent years, where it's like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something right, and I just think that there's value there. Like I don't want to dip my toe in. I don't want to just be a tourist here. I want to see what I can accomplish when I push all my chips into something. And like I said, there's just value in that pursuit. So that really is my why. It's just the process, and that's why it continues to like why there's never an issue for motivation for me because that this is not there's no end point. There's
Mm,
always going to be something else to strive toward, or some new goal, or something else to work on, and it's all because of the process. So I'm just in it for the pursuit.
yeah, yeah. But funnily enough, I was asked this question this morning by someone, and it's similar for me. It's the process, and it's not necessarily just because it's HYROX. I think like HYROX works for me because it's like endurance and strength, and I like that mix, and I like having the time to aim for and things like that. But it's the process, and if it wasn't that, it would just be something else. Like I can't like not be working on something.
Well, Greg, from your perspective, right? Like you continue to improve this product of Rox Lyfe too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
from seeing from where it was and how it continues to build and just like, and I feel that I relate the same way. It's like wherever it is, the athletic pursuit is one thing, but it crosses over to this, and I can tell that from you. It's like, okay, I'm doing this, so I'm going to continue to get better and improve upon it, like as we continue to go, because there's always something else to do. There's always something like new doors open up every time another one closes. So there's always this pursuit to try to do more and more, which I mean, it's interesting because, and I wonder if you feel this way as well. um, because there is no like destination, and this is something that I've thought about lately. Is it's almost frustrating to the point where it's like, okay, it's never going to be done. There's never going to be a point where I'm just going to chill or I'm just going to be like, oh, nice, or I accomplished this, great. It's always on to the next thing. And it feels a little bit frustrating at times, but also I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, yeah, completely. Like it's like I sometimes think of it as a blessing and a curse, like, having this mind in that it's a blessing in that it gets you out of bed in the morning. It keeps you motivated, and there's always something to do. But some days I think it would be nice to just be one of these people that's like happy to just chill and do nothing and not be thinking, I could be writing this article, or I could be doing this zone 2 session, or I could be doing something like this. There's always something. And I was talking earlier, like I'm so busy. And then I thought about it, it's like because I've just added a load of stuff to my list that doesn't have to be done, but I want it to be. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll consistently bump into that as well, where I will is like load it up, load it up, load it up until I bump into like a ceiling, and then like the stress and anxiety just kind of like rains on me.
Yeah.
So trying to find that balance, right? Like it doesn't have to be this constant grind. I used to think that the like my favorite days a couple of years ago, as I was like trying to train full time and like working in the space and working online and trying to do all this stuff. My favorite days were like when I would start at like 6 a.m. and end at like 8 p.m. and I'd be like, I'm grinding right now. But eventually it's too much. And now as I've gained some experience, I'm like, okay, I don't need to do everything. And now it's like peeling things back so that like I can do things as well as I possibly can. And kind of goes back to that, right? And that's kind of part of that process. It's like the
Mhm.
process isn't necessarily like overloading and doing as much as possible, but like doing the things as well as possible that I want to do. So yeah, trying to find that balance. But I'm probably not going to just kick my feet up. I think about it. I have like this vision. I'm like, yeah, one day I'll just chill, but it's just not going to happen.
No,
It's never going to
no,
happen
no.
that way.
Um, I'm not sure we ever actually really talked about it, but just briefly, like your sporting background, like before HYROX, what were you doing like, from a young age?
From a young age, I was playing all sports, right? Football, American football. No proper football for me. Football, baseball, basketball, and then I found track and field in high school in like ninth grade. I excelled pretty well and almost right away in like mid distance, and then because of that, I got pulled into cross country, and then started doing cross country, track and field, and basketball in the winter. Went to university to run track and field and cross country at a Division I school in Philadelphia called St. Joe's. And after that, I came out and at St. Joe's, I found the weight room a little bit, but it was not a focal point. We didn't have any direction. We were just kind of like there. I knew there was value in the weight room. I would go there in my off-season training just because I was always looking for something else to give myself an edge in terms of competition. And I was like, okay, this is completely controllable. I can just spend more time. This is work. I'm fine with doing work. But after that, I really got into the gym. I started working at kind of like a big box commercial facility, like directly out of college. And then I found CrossFit in like 2011, which really, which really helped scratch an itch from the competitive landscape and, really introduced me to the higher levels and broader concepts of strength and conditioning. So I started to dive into CrossFit quite a bit, but I was always running. I never wanted to give up the running portion just because I love it and it was my background. And I want at that point I wanted to be a runner who was strong as opposed to being a CrossFitter, right? Like if I pushed my chips in the CrossFit, I would have to like stop lifting, gain like 25 pounds of muscle, right? And then be all in on that methodology. And it just wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I kept running, and then like the Spartan race stuff started to like emerge as like a competitive outlet, and I was like, oh, cool! Like this is kind of the combination of things I've been training for. And after doing the circuit for 2 or 3 years, it became clear that it really was more of like trail running with like a little bit of grip strength. So it didn't really give me that combination that I was hoping for. And then when HYROX came out, I was like, oh, this is actually it. Like I've been
Yeah.
training for this for like a decade, and now the event is here. So it's fortuitous. It happened like later in my career, right? Like right now I'm 39. So when it came out, I don't know, I was 35. So I was lucky to get a little bit of a taste of this while I still had some athletic juice left in me. But I think just like the base of training set me up really well for this.
For that period before HYROX, I appreciate Spartan was part of it, but where you were like, running, training, doing CrossFit, was there a motivator for you at the time? Like, I appreciate you like the process, but were you driven by a certain goal? Were you trying to hit a running time, hit strength numbers, or anything like that? What was the motivator without a HYROX finishing time for you?
So yeah, it wasn't always process, right? Like it's something now that I can lean into heavily, and I think it is, being having like a small business and doing content and stuff like, and having and like seeing the process across a bunch of domains, like I can really lean into that now, and it is very fulfilling. But in the beginning, like when in high school, when in college, the outcomes were almost like defining to my personality, which is not a very healthy way to approach competition, right? Because you can't control the outcome. And I didn't realize that, right? So if I didn't perform well, it was like reflective on who I was as a person, which is just like Incorrect. And so like I was just I would just like not be happy if I didn't like win and do all these things. So like there was like this void that I would continuously try to fill. So that was always kind of like the things stacking on top of each other. And as I've matured as an athlete, like my motivations have changed. But it was very much that time I wanted to compete. You know, I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to race in like I wanted to do something where I could, you know, race good competition and to like be the best, right? So that's always been that has previously been what has motivated me. So that type of juxtaposition between like wanting to be the best, but also wanting to like pursue something, it's kind of like shifted where it was a little bit there because that's just like what endurance is in general, but it was still like the competition first. So somewhere in that middle, it's kind of shifted there, but competition has always been like that has been the driver for a long time.
Okay, okay. So let's talk about some competition in HYROX this season. And I listened back earlier to our last conversation, which was just over a year ago. But at that point, you just qualified for the Elite 15 in Washington. So
Mm-hmm.
and now, like a year on, basically, there's been a lot that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start recently with the doubles world record, which you set with Palo. Like, are you enjoying the doubles side of things? Like, are you excited that Elite 15 doubles is part of the calendar this year?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's going to be a very challenging weekend in Chicago,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, I don't necessarily train to be able to do multiple races in a weekend. Like, I train to do one as best as I can, and I'm generally wrecked for a little bit of time after. But I am excited to go about it. Just like the team element is it's so much more fun. Some of like my best um, experience as an athlete has come from team or relay style, and those are the things that like I I think back fondly of like the most fondly. So having this element there is really cool. I love that it expands the field of athletes who get a taste of the Elite 15 treatment. It's
Mhm.
gonna be really cool to have 30 athletes, 60 athletes, including both genders, who are going to get like the introductions and going to get to go out there. They're going to probably get a kit. I don't, what are the details, Greg? Do you know the
I don't
details?
know.
We're oh, come on, dude. You know, you got to give us something. But like if they give us swag, potential to make money, apparently there's some payouts. They sent an email that said there is payouts, but they haven't told us what for either. Do you know that info either?
No, no, no. I've asked, but I don't know. No, but
Yeah, they said
I
they
know
were
there's
going to give
payouts.
it
Yeah.
to us, but they have not yet. So I'm really excited for that. And it's going to be a cool stepping stone in terms of progress of the athlete development in years past. And Greg, you know better. I'm sure you know this more than anybody because you're paying attention to people from like all the way across all the competitive divisions. But in the past, you could kind of look at who placed well at the world championships in like the age group category, and then you could basically just like slide them into the Elite 15,
Hmm.
especially on the female side. Because what like Seka she won last year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Camilla the year before. But you see like Zara, Maria, like all these athletes who are in that, and then Hitty last year
Hmm.
won the men's, and like they kind of slide up.
Hmm.
So now we'll see if there is that like transfer from like these doubles athletes so that they are given a little bit more motivation and kind of can level up in their training to see if that will make the Elite 15 even a little bit more competitive as well.
Yeah, yeah. It is uh you touching on like two. It's going to be a tough weekend, but what one of it, one sort of element that's coming into play is that they've moved the relay to like Friday night, which is between the singles and the doubles. So I think there's some decisions. I know a couple of people that have said, well, maybe I won't do the relay now then because I want to focus on doubles and things like that. And I guess like from your perspective, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with the captains and the teams and everything, but at the moment you're the fastest American man this season, right? I think.
From PR perspective, yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So there'd be a decision there potentially for you to make about singles, relay, and doubles as well.
I know, and I don't. Pelayo's mentioned this as well, and I think he's pretty focused in on the doubles. I don't know how demanding a relay is going to be. Have you done a relay by itself in a weekend? Have you not done any of the races and just done a relay?
Uh, I have done a relay as the first thing in the weekend, actually, once in Manchester. So they did relays on the Friday night. That's the only relay I've done, to be honest. And then I raced the following day, the following night as a doubles. And I don't think it took too much out of me, in all honesty. Like it's intense and hard at the time, but I wouldn't say like it didn't have the DOMs and stuff like you get from a
Okay.
singles race, you know. Yeah.
That's good to know. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. It's like two by whatever, 6 minutes with like 20 minutes of recovery in between. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be that bad.
No.
So I think it
In
would be
fairness, I should say, in fairness, I did sled pull and farmers carry, which I think is probably like some of the kind of stuff like muscularly,
that's true.
you know.
That's true. But I mean, yeah, I think lunges would be rough, wall balls, of course. But everything else, yeah, isn't that bad muscularly. Did you race okay the next day?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal, but like if you are dead set on the on the doubles, I think it would be cool. Like I did not get selected to participate on the relay last year, and I think I could be an asset on that team, and I would love to do it because the relay again, it just brings you back to the track and field days. It just is really exciting to me, and to be able to represent like my country is really cool. So it would be I would have to think about it pretty hard, but I probably would do the relay.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Obviously, you and Palayo are like some of the faster runners in the field, and maybe that's just like the sole reason for your double success in the world record. But would you put it down to anything else? Like, for example, do you feel like double suits you better because of the like the higher intensity and then the rest, or do you prefer the slower grind? And then also like, do you feel like tactically or changeovers or anything like that, you've got it nailed more than anyone else?
Yeah, I do think it's a combination of all three of those elements where like Plano are very similar athletes kind of
Mm-hmm.
from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So the and I guess I was thinking about this too. Like, do you think like say we'll just use Plyo. Do you think like two Plyos would beat two Hunters?
uh, mm,
Like, does it just come down to the running?
I yeah, I think potentially, yeah. If fair, I think in doubles, yeah, I think it could do. I don't think
Hunter at his best because Plyo's taken a couple from Hunter in the past couple of years, but say like Hunter say Ronco whatever. Um, so like so you think like potentially yeah
no, I of all right. Let's say two Alexes. I think two Alexes would beat two players.
you do.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
think the station elements do play a factor of it?
They play a factor, but Alex can compete with player running wise as well, right? I mean, is he would you say is that far behind?
I don't know. Like, so let's say Alex did run 16 flat last year in a 5K just after he won the world championships. Plyo would probably run like 15:30, 15:35, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
What that does over, and then say it's 10K, right? So say Plyo is 45 seconds better than would beat him by 45 seconds in a 10K or something like that. Is there enough time within the stations when it's being split up?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I would say I'd still bet on two Alexes. I'd still
Okay.
bet on two Alexes.
And so, yeah, it's just like I was thinking about this and like how that would play out because Plow and I, we basically are two of two of each other. We are
Yeah,
like
yeah.
two of the same, right? And it's like not many other team combinations have that exact, especially when the specialty is running. So I think it is favorable, and I do like the high output with some recovery, like the longer grind. That's like been the biggest challenge for me over the years of HYROX has been leaning into what the actual race is, which is a grind. I want
Mhm.
it to be like faster. I want to be able to work at higher outputs for intensity in my training, but like it just doesn't get me there. So doubles is like a bit of a breath of fresh air to get a little bit of rest. I can do a lot with a little bit of rest. So that is like it certainly lends itself um, to good performances. And Plano, we see things pretty similarly. So there's not really strife on the team in terms of like tactics. Our transitions could be better. We have not practiced that very well. Like we lost a bunch of times on lunges. I screwed up some on the burpees. I screwed up on the sled pull. Like we can be cleaner for sure. So I think there's time there, and with an open course, you know,
Yeah,
because
that's true.
even though it's going to be madness, like 30 teams are all going to come into the ski erg like at the same time. It's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
be crazy. But like there's not gonna be people like in front of us,
yeah.
that like we have to move around. So I think all the factors play in. It was just kind of a perfect storm. The course was really good. We had good competition with Ryan Kenton, Rylan Shadag. So we knew we had like we were pressed for a good chunk of the race. And then we were just like feeling it. We were just feeling good in those runs, man. And we were just able to continue to roll. And once we got a little momentum, especially late, we're like, okay, like let's keep this thing going.
Yeah, yeah. Going back to that question about like how important are the stations, it's quite interesting that your time actually beat your open weight world record as well. So like
Hmm.
that step up to the pro weights hasn't really had an impact, has it? Like you're, I mean, obviously there is some, but it's not huge. It's almost like you could justify going even heavier potentially in these pro doubles than we are.
Like an extra. That's interesting. Or like make the stations double, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like make them longer, so it does take a bit of a hit out of the athletes in there. Because yeah, I mean, there's factors like Miami's course was way better than the Dallas course that we were on, but that open record that like stood up against some good competition.
Yeah,
People like tried to take that.
yeah.
So like I wasn't expecting it to be that fast, but people are just getting good. Like we know what the demands are. We know how to we're learning how to train for them, and being like very specific within the stations. So yeah, you're probably right. Like the stations aren't going to be as much of a problem, especially when they're split 50-50 as what they may have been a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Just going back to the changeovers thing, when I had Tom Fransons and Peter Mace on here, the Belgian guys, they
Hmm.
talked about farmers carry changeover where they're essentially not putting the kettlebells down. So one guy comes in behind the other, takes it out his hand and carries on.
Really?
Yeah, 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 which maybe saves a few seconds. Uh,
Huh.
so
I
my question,
guess. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, my question is: have you two got anything like that? Maybe like anything not commonly talked about that you can share? Any
Not
secrets?
not really. I don't think we were breaking ground like that. Like we talked about lunges. We've seen people kind of do the thing where they kind of slide in behind their partner and lift it up over onto
Mm-hmm.
them. Like that's just how it's going to be, I think. I think sled pull. There's some efficiencies that can be worked on, because that transition's a little funny too. But I also think the sled pull, because we're so like the sled pull is not disproportionately faster the way that the sled push seems to be from singles to doubles. Like we'll see athletes like pretty close to like the 3 minute mark, and in singles, like sometimes it can be at three, it can be below. So I just think that the work rate is like really high from like ski push that you get into the sled pull, and like you might be a little bit more tired than what you would be for singles even. So, but I think there's some efficiencies to be worked on there. We don't have anything. We don't have anything on there. Uh, we're focusing mostly on how to be most optimal when it comes to how much work to put in.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that's really important is managing the like fatigue deficit between two athletes, like making sure the athletes' fatigue levels are as close to equal as possible throughout the entire event, right? And like going as hard as you can before that fatigue level can rise and the other one's drops because too much rest. That's really where we are trying to be most optimal right now, as opposed to doing that the little things. In a couple years, I think like if you watch like a CrossFit competition, right? Sometimes it can come down to if they just like make a misstep or just like kind of like forget where they're going, and all the competition's so good across the board that that's like the difference. I think in a couple years, doubles will be like that, or even singles might even be like that. But right now, I think we're just working on like figuring out how to like go as hard as possible, as opposed to like how to be the most efficient.
Yeah. What are you doing on the row at the moment? I remember like, I always just used to think of it as just 500, 500 if you're fairly evenly split. But now, like last time I did it, I think we did something like 250, 500, 250. Like so
Mm-hmm.
that the person does the 500 as a little bit of a rest before the run. Um, what are you two doing there?
Yeah, we were saying what kind of way, right? Because the transitions between the row are slower, right? So it's
Mm.
like, should we transition more, or does it even make up time? So we did 500, 500 in our previous, but then this past one in Miami, um, we were going to do 300, 400, 300. Plow's a bit of a stronger rower than I am, but ended up being like 300, 450, 250 is kind of what we did. So some similar to like what you had laid out. How did that work for you? Was it better?
Good. Yeah, yeah, better. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do have to be careful on the road, almost whatever distance you do, don't you? Like, it's that you can't just be like, I'm only going to do 250, and so I can smash it, because you can still kill yourself on
Right,
250
right.
meters. So, but no, I do think it was better. Yeah, certainly. Like,
Yeah,
because we were fairly evenly split as athletes as well. So yeah.
that's the thing, right? Like even when we did the split this way, where it was like the 304, 50, 250, even with plyo being on for whatever that is, 30 seconds, 25, 30 seconds, like my fatigue level was so much lower than his coming off of that, that like if it's 500, 500, it's just going to be disproportionate. So like, yes, I could run faster, but he needs to come with, or vice versa, whatever that is. So, yeah, I think splitting it at least at least having two transitions, I think is valuable. I don't think our total time was that much different, but the way we
Mhm.
came off and ran was like exponentially different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, so that's doubles, and then uh, from a singles perspective, you qualified for the Elite 15 at Worlds through your race in Glasgow. Um, previously, like I know previously I've talked to you about like jet lag maybe being a problem, and you hadn't always travelled as well, and like your better performance had been in America. Like, do you feel like you did something different that time in Glasgow that led to that good performance?
I was I was definitely more mindful than I had been in the past in terms of planning the actual like transition from time zones. Or in the past, I've competed internationally four times now, including Glasgow. The three times previous, where I did Madrid, just like a regular race, I did Vienna, and then I did Worlds last year in Nice. The first two times, I just didn't give myself enough time. I tried to pop in like 2 days before just to try to like maximize time, not spend so much time then, like maximize resources, just like expensive. And that's just like not enough time. And if I was to do that again, I think I would get there like the day before, because that first night of sleep isn't so bad coming west to east. The second night gets rough. The third night's rough, and then it starts to get a little bit less rough. Where, um, but in Nice, like we gave ourselves a ton of time. We were there. We were completely transitioned. And one thing that has been a major shift in my just like general approach has been like the stress and the weight I've been putting on these things. I would get really stressed out about how I would actually handle the jet lag. That the stress, I think, was more detrimental than the actual jet lag, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like I'd be like, I'm not sleeping. Oh my God, I'm gonna do terrible. Where it's like, dude, just like you're fine. like I would just get a little bit too wrapped up in that. So in Glasgow, my just like demeanor was a little bit more relaxed. My wife came with me to this one, and we just like had fun. We just took our time sleeping, and just like took all the stress levels as low as I possibly could. Where in the past, I would just put a lot of weight on myself, and that stress just did not lend itself to good performance. So I'd say that's the main thing. In terms of I mean, that's harder to like execute, right? It's like, oh, just be more chill, and you'll perform better on jet lag. It's easier said than done, but like I think that was the biggest thing. Tactically, I did kind of plan things out. A buddy of mine is a sleep specialist at the at University of San Francisco, a neurologist. So I got with him, talked to him a little bit about what the actual process of like adjusting sleep patterns would be. He suggested sleeping a little bit on the way over, but not so much that it kills my sleep drive. Supplementing with higher doses of melatonin was very effective. So, like a typical dose of melatonin is going to be about 5 milligrams, I believe it's milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he suggested doing between like 9 and 10. And that type of dosage was like really, really effective for my sleep. It did just kind of put me out. And getting up early, getting the sun into your eyes within like the first like hour or two of being uh, uh, woken up was also something that I made sure to be very tactical about. And then just taking other things like supplementing with B12 just for energy. Like, so you don't have like these energy dips throughout the day. I was taking like a B12 spray. So my energy levels were like real constant. And by like the second or third day, I was continuing to take the spray and it felt like I had too much coffee. It was like I had too much caffeine. So like I had to be careful with how much of that to take. But having that and keep my energy consistent throughout the day, I took some supplements like tart cherry juice, cherry bundy, just to help with like inflammation. Same with like omegas and things like that. I'm not sure how much all that mattered, but because I was systematic, because I had a bit more of a plan, it just made me feel like it was working, you know. But
Yeah.
I would definitely keep the melatonin in place.
Okay.
That's gonna come with me to Chicago, even an hour difference. I'm taking it.
We can't even, you can't buy melatonin over here.
Really
No, no. So when I was in Vegas, I was like
loaded
loading up
up.
on that stuff. Yeah.
That's interesting because well, the thing with melatonin, right, is that it can be habit forming. As like I've found that if I when I take it consistently, or for these examples where I'm taking it to adjust my sleep, when I come off of it, my sleep does struggle. Like I have a hard
Mm.
time sleeping through the night once I come off of it. So for that reason, it's habit forming, and it is a hormone that we are supposed to naturally produce. So like kind of taking it into our own hands, I can see how it can be um, like kind of touch and go from like a consumer standpoint. But we got it here, so I'm taking it.
uh, um, we've sort of talked about that, like the addressing the jet lag and the stress and things like that. But have you like it's been a successful season so far? Presumably, you'd agree with that.
I agree. Yes.
Have you changed your training at all? Like, you know, if we've spoken over a period of a couple of years, really, about your training, what you've been focusing on. But has there been any changes this season that you felt, you know, yeah, no, I think it's more whatever thresholds that is more important than maybe I used to think, or anything like that?
Yeah, there's been a couple of major shifts in like just my training methodology. Uh, I'll start with there's this. I think I've come to the mind that the hardest part of HYROX training is not overtraining, right? And kind of go back to the weekend of preparation, like for, and this is kind of the shift that the differences I see in like CrossFit versus HYROX as well in terms of like a training methodology. At the CrossFit Games, at the pinnacle of this sport, you need to be ready to do like 12 to 15 events over the course of like 4 days, right? So across those, you're probably never going to be putting out as much as you can for that specific event because either you're going to need to like keep keep it together so you can do the rest of the events, or you're going to be so tired by the end that you're never going to be like completely putting out everything that you can. So in HYROX, we need to put out everything that we can for one event, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the shift in the two of them. But because we can do so much volume, so many different methodologies, and we're um, and like there's a lot of low impact stuff we can do. I think athletes can take it a little bit too far, and I've taken it too far in terms of just like doing a lot of intensity across many days on different domains and doing a lot of volume because that's kind of the easy answer, and volume does work to a certain level, and eventually where it stops working. So you kind of have to find where that is, and some athletes do better on volume than others. I got to a point where I was like, okay, I've done a lot. So now, like, I can double down and do more, or I can do less. And at my age, I'm like, I don't think I can do much more and like feel good and like be able to operate as a human being. So I started doing less. And like the way I feel on my day to day has improved dramatically. My body composition's better because I don't feel like I need to like shove a ton of food down my throat to make me feel better because I feel so bad from the training. Like I used to look at this is this is something that dawned on me lately. It's like I used to like just feel real bad in training, and nutrition is a good way to recover from that, and it would make me feel better. But sometimes I would like conflate it, and I would just like continue to eat to try to make myself feel even better from the overtraining that I've been doing. So I don't have to do that anymore, right? So body composition wise, like I'm better because I'm doing less volume, and my sleep is better, my stress is lower, my productivity in life is better, which also makes my stress lower. And that fundamental shift has just like given me a lot of confidence across the board that I can do really hard workouts. I can do it week over week and recover well because I'm like taking that as a priority. So that's been the major shift in terms of like a macro sense. And then in a micro sense, like how I approach each individual workout, I was like thinking that there has to be like a smarter way to do things. Um, and in the past, where I'd just be like, I think this is the stimulus that I'm going to feel like for HYROX, whatever. And I would just kind of like stack these things together and put them all there. And like, generally, like I had good results, right? Like I had qualified for Leaf 15 twice before. Like I think I was doing fine, but I was still like, I don't like, there's got to be a smarter way to do it. And I started to kind of think of like how triathletes will do something, or cyclists who are the most like neurotic, nitty gritty around their training. And I was like, they would definitely be using some hard metrics for their training. So like, let me try to incorporate that into something that is HYROX. So like the main metric that I started to follow, where in the past I would try to manage total volume over hours, and then I would manage volume within my actual workouts. So like how much wall balls I was doing each week, how much running I was doing each week, how much intensity I was doing at the running, and just like track all these different markers. And I stopped tracking all those as closely, and I decided I was like, I'm just going to track how much time I'm spending at anaerobic threshold at zone 4. Like this is now my main metric because this is kind of where we need to be for the race. So I wanted to try to track, like, see how much I could get within an individual workout and how much that I could do within a week and still feel like I was improving. So that's how all my workouts kind of shifted. So then instead of doing, so like an example would be like, I want to get 30 minutes at zone 4. Like my workout I didn't start that on my watch until I got into zone 4. So the workout might be 50 minutes, but I'm accumulating 30 or whatever it is. And then just like tracking that week over week, workout over workout, and using that as my progressive marker, as opposed to just like total volume and total intensity.
Okay. And you're looking at that. It's not just running that you're doing. Like if there's a high Roxy style workout and you're in zone 4 when you're pushing the sled, you're counting that as time in zone 4.
100%. And what was tricky about that is that like the every position, when you change positions, your heart rate responds differently, right? So like I can be sitting at zone 4, like steady, like in it for 3 or 5 minutes on the run, and I go on the rower, I'm sitting down and I'm going in my work, and like my work rate is just a little bit slower. It's not like less output, but it's slower.
Yeah.
My heart rate goes down.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm out of like anaerobic threshold, because I would be in it for what the rower would be.
Yeah.
And same with like burpee broad jumps, wall balls, all that stuff. So like taking like, it's like, okay, I know I'm in zone 4 here. And as long as my work rate stays high and I'm not like dying or like stopping, then I would just kind of count that as well. Even though my watch might say, oh, you only accumulated 12 minutes. I was like, yes, but I was working at this rate for like 50. So I'm counting it.
Okay. And going back to what you were saying initially in terms of doing a bit less, like it's easy to overtrain. And I used to ask this a little bit a few times on the podcast, but like there is a line, and a lot of the guys come on and talk about their volume and they train hard and push hard and everything like that. And like you want to do that, but you also don't want to go too hard because you can overtrain. Like how do you know where that line is? How have you like made peace with you're doing less but you're doing enough?
Well, for me, it's been easy because I'm performing better.
Yeah.
Right? Like ripping off like a 4-minute PR in the beginning of the season is like, okay. Because it was very risky. Yeah, it was working. It was risky at that point, right? Because I was like, yes, I am experiencing some success, but how last season ended and how like the season just last 2 seasons, honestly, just like how much of a grind it was. It was like I was like, maybe I just don't have it. Like maybe this year I'm not going to qualify for world championships. So it's like taking that pressure off of myself and just being able to just go and perform, and just go and do and try something different, because without the weight of needing to qualify, I think was very helpful. And yeah, and then seeing the results like was definitely uh was like, okay, we're headed in the right direction here.
Okay, but it's something you're essentially like waiting for race day to determine, as opposed to doing, are you doing benchmark stuff in training to give you comfort or not?
Not a lot. I go back and forth with this type of stuff, in particular with just athletes who are curious about it. I think benchmarks are great so you can understand like what kind of paces or output you should be doing during training. But I found I can get a little bit wrapped up in the benchmarks. And if it's like, am I training for the benchmark or am I training for HYROX? Right. And as long as all the other markers are in place, like I said, like body composition, like my threshold pace in running, just like my ability to sit at that zone 4, like if these things are all kind of in line with what I've done in the past, like I can know that I'm getting better without needing to do a specific benchmark.
Okay, okay. Um, Changing the subject a little. Uh, Firstly, what you're a shoe guy. You like your shoes. What
Yeah.
what what are you wearing now for racing?
I'm stuck with the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2.
Mhm.
This I just think is like the best combination for me in terms of like grip on the carpet, um, underfoot action, and just like general comfort. Like I think that they are the best. Have you tried them?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
What do
yeah.
you think of them?
I like them. We sort of briefly talked about this, I think, in Vegas, didn't we? But um, I like them. I wear them for doubles, certainly. Like I love how bouncy and fast they feel when I'm running fast. I have wondered, like, when I slow down a little bit, like if I'm fatigued or if I'm not running as fast, like, do I like them anymore? And I wonder if there's a level, like, if you have to be at a certain speed to notice the true benefits of them. I'm in two minds, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I hear this. If you, for me, I land mostly forefoot, midfoot, like at when I'm running fast or when I'm running slow. So to me, they generally feel okay. But if like when your cadence slows or like you reach out in front a little bit more,
mhm.
they're not very good. People don't like them. Or if you reach out a little bit more, if you are a little bit more like the back of your foot landing first, they are not they are not your shoe.
No, no. And I
What
did
do you wear for
a
individuals right now?
well, so I did a solo pro race the other day in London, and that's actually my first solo pro. I've done a few pro doubles, but it's my first solo pro, and I was like, I don't think I want to wear the Mizunos for that. It's just I was a bit paranoid about wall balls, and then also like the lunges, because it is a bit of a deficit lunge, if you like, because
For
they
sure.
are so high. So I
Hmm.
I, I dug out my old Endorphin Pro threes that are on their last legs, if I'm honest, but I use those for that race. Yeah,
How'd the race go?
it so I'm struggling with Achilles tendonitis, so I was in two minds about whether to race or not. So I eased into it, and then it went okay. I just wanted to get a time on the ball, but I died a slow, painful death at the wall balls, which is, do you know what I like? I've got to a place where I'm pretty comfortable with my wall balls, like especially at open weights. I was like, it's been nice to have that confidence at the end of the race that I'm pretty good at them. So I thought I'd be okay, and then like I just went in. I've done 10 reps, and I thought, oh, I'm in trouble here. Like this is that
That's
was
not
hard.
that's not what you want. Yeah.
No. So it was tough going, but I'm glad I've got time on the board that I can now like aim to beat in future races. So
For
which I
sure.
find
And like,
I think I maybe lacked that like I'm always like trying to beat my previous time, and the fact I didn't have a previous time to beat, I think maybe like mentally I lost my way a little bit towards the end of the race as well, because I just went I'm pushing for this time.
let
So
yourself off the hook a little bit.
yeah, maybe. Um, and it was
So you're
an
gonna
8:20 p.m. start time, and I forgot to take caffeine. So like towards the end of the race, I was like, I'm so tired, and it weren't just like fatigue from the race. It was like I could just go to sleep now.
at least have that time now. Are you gonna do pro from now on?
Yes, yeah.
Nice,
I
dude.
am, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So I've got Cardiff coming up in a few weeks, and pro in that. So yeah, I think I'll just do that from now. Yeah.
Nice. The sleds were okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's a different game at the end of the day. It is, but yeah, they were okay. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, have you tried the Rebellion Pro 3s yet? While we're talking
I
about
have
Mizunos?
not. I have not. I've been stacking twos. I just know they work. So my plan is when the threes go on clearance, I'm gonna stack those as well. I've heard that they do work.
Okay.
Have you seen that they make? Uh, um, it was actually uh, Mark Alpine from
Okay.
Hybrid Experiments, right?
Experiment. Yeah.
He's a big shoe guy too. They make a Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro Low, they call it, where there actually is a heel on
Okay.
the back of it. So I think it would be a little bit easier for people who are landing a little bit further back there. Um, but yeah, they're coming out with a bunch of different models of this, but I think they're just going to go on clearance because they don't seem to sell very well. I'm hoping that they're just going to. So I'm just stacking the twos because I'm thinking eventually the Rebellion Pros are going to be like not existing anymore. So I heard they work, but I know the twos work, so I'm fine using those for as
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
as I need to.
Yeah. I do. I must admit, I do quite like the. It's everyone's choice, but the Puma Deviate Elite threes as well.
Oh, you like the
Uh,
elites?
I like the elites. Yeah, it's just because I've had this Achilles tendonitis issue. I'd been wearing them quite a lot, and so I was like, I hadn't upped my mileage, so I was a bit like, what could have done this? So I stopped wearing the Pumas for a while to see if it helped, and I'm not sure it has, in all honesty, but I do like those as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have not tried the newest models of the Deviates or the Elites, but I've enjoyed the previous models. They're doing some good stuff for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Something else I wanted to ask you, completely different topic, but you did a lot of training with Nick Bear. I know you had him on
Yeah.
RMR podcast, and you worked with him in to some extent. I think. Like, how was that? And did you take anything away from him, his mindset, anything like that from being around him? Like, I know. I mean, I don't know what you saw with your listeners on your podcast with him, but for us, it was like crazy. Like,
People are interested.
yeah, people
People
are
are
very
interested for
interested in
sure.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm interested. Any insights you've got from being around him, talking to him?
That like the main thing to take away is that it is all real. Like it's not like if you follow his content, if you follow like his messaging, it is how he lives. Like it is like he is has like an intense focus. He's very process driven as well. And he wants to get good and he's just kind of wants to be a student of whatever he's doing. He does a lot of volume. His volume is definitely high because he can sustain that. Because he can sustain that is because of how locked in he is on his nutrition. Like again, it's real. Like the things he's doing, and I think in like his content, right? He's selling nutrition products, so he's like featuring these products. But no, he's actually like that. Like he's measured out. He's very dialed in with the timing, making sure that he's optimizing what he's taking in versus what he's putting out. So like that was one thing that because I think I'm pretty locked in on like across the board, but I was not compared to him on that front. It's like okay, like there's levels of being meticulous and being thoughtful, and he has that. And I think it's all real. Like he just is a high achiever, and he wants to keep pushing toward that. It's really cool to see the way he makes content. I really enjoyed that too. Like, and it's just like he has this idea of wanting to be good at all of these things, and but like having focus in each of these like verticals was really cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he'll come back to HYROX and give it another go and progress?
I think so. I think so. You know, as he has like, trying to excel in a bunch of different areas. Obviously, it'd be like spinning plates and things will kind of fall off. And I think he was experiencing that when he's like, okay, shit, I want to do HYROX, I want to do a marathon, and I want to do this, and like it's not going to work that well from that perspective. Like it's hard enough to do. It's like do it in like business, family, and athletics. Like whether then doing business, family, athletics, like three different pursuits is just like who can really do that. So I think he wants to hit goals along the way. So I think once he does that, I think we'll see him back.
Okay. Okay. Um, and mindset during a race, is that changed at all for you now? And like I know we've talked about it previously, but is there any developments like when a race is getting tough, where you mind going?
With better fitness, the race gets a little bit less tough, which is cool. like it just like stave it off. It doesn't suck as bad. So that's been a big shift. It's just like, hey, maybe it doesn't have to hurt as bad. No, I mean, like it ends up being a lot more tasks. Like, someone did ask me this question about doubles. Like, wow, like how did, like when this was happening, like what were you thinking? And it was just about like staying present and executing and not being beyond, not taking, not letting the mind travel outside of like the singular task that we were focused on. I think is something that I've been able to do pretty well in this past season. Really, it's like, okay, I'm here. Here's my plan. Being a little bit more calculated with the actual race plan, so that I don't just get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to run until I hit the wall, and then I'm just going to grit my teeth and carry it on throughout, which I kind of had to do last year. I was like, okay, I'm suffering for 30 minutes, and I'm prepared to do that. Now it's like, I know I will need to push hard here, get a little bit of a reprieve here, and then push hard till the end, or do whatever I can. So being a little bit more tactical has helped kind of take myself out of that, like, just go to the pain cave because it's going to be there and you're just going to need to like live there for forever. Now it's like, let's just see like what I can do throughout the race to put myself in the best position so that I can still put out really well on all the stations without needing to like suffer. So my run suffer, so my stations suffer, and like everything is suffering. So I think it's just been a little bit more tactical in terms of like the actual race approach. And that's helped. So from a mindset perspective, it ends up being very much like, what is the task? Like, stay on the task. So I think that's a little bit of a shift.
Okay. Okay. Uh, and then I just wanted to get your opinion on you've always got opinions, so I thought I'd get a couple of controversial ones out of you.
Let's do it.
So,
Put it up on socials.
So the new turf is coming in for the sleds, and they're bringing that in Chicago. What's your thoughts on that, and have you tried it?
I'm assuming it's the same stuff that they've had in the warm up areas, right? At least in
That's
the
my assumption.
States.
In Vegas, yeah, I saw some in Vegas. That's my assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have tried it. It moves well. If it's the same stuff that's in the current workout stations, but the warm up stations, but can't really tell. I mean, I think it's unfortunate. This doesn't seem like it is a decision made for the sake of the sport. Maybe long term it'll just like make it even. Maybe it'll be like super durable. We can come into the race and know that every single lane is going to be the exact same. Or right now, like they're just not. Like it might be negligible, but like there's no quality control, like guaranteeing to the athletes that every sled lane is the exact same. So in terms of fairness, it like it doesn't hit the mark right now. So maybe this hits the mark for fairness. Maybe this can guarantee that every sled lane is going to be the exact same for every single participant across the world. That'd be great. With a sport that is quantifiable and repeatable, which is like the best thing that HYROX has going for it, for them to change an element before the World Championships is just like, it's going to change the race. It's going to change the outcome. There's no doubt. Like one way or another, who knows? But like, it's going to fundamentally change the race, and the athletes are coming into it without knowing how to prepare for it. I wish we were consulted a little bit, or at least given an explanation. There was no messaging to the athletes as like, hey, we're doing this. We think it's going to be great. We can guarantee it's going to be this, or this. There was no messaging like that. I think, what did I learn? Oh, I learned in an affiliate email. I was like, oh, okay, we're just going to change these things at this day. And I'm sure they obviously have a reason for it, but it's not athlete minded. But at the same time, it's like, the athletes we're more or less marketing for them, right? Like we're not huge revenue drivers yet. So, their decision to make it, I'm sure has good reason, but like it's not for the sake of the sport.
Okay. Okay.
What do you think?
Uh, I similar really. I mean, I hope it improves consistency from lane to lane, so that like we can stop, like we used to talk about event to event and there's differences. And okay, I think we'd like accepted that, but I think there have been cases where like lane to lane, you think, did he have a bad lane or a good lane? And like hopefully, like if there's consistency there, then I think that's a good thing. I I can't help but feel like it will be easier. Like
Yeah.
knowing what that's like, it will be. And it sounds like they've tested it and it performs similarly, but I certainly can't imagine it's going to be harder. Like knowing what that material's like.
Have you ever popped
Um,
onto like turf that is like actually slippery? Have you ever tried to push a sled on something like that?
no, not really. Like I think my gym has similar to what this new turf is going to be like. Uh, and so like it's not slippery, but I mean one thing I have noticed is it's like you push it one way and it's easier than pushing it back the other way.
Right, right. Yeah, like
Uh,
changes the direction of the turf.
yeah. And then I'm surprised it's coming in for Chicago. Like even like if they just did it for a few events before Chicago,
Yeah,
and
like
just
roll it out for like these keystone events like the Berlin or New York or whatever it
yeah,
is and just like make it a thing there because those get a lot of eyeballs. Like, yeah, like Worlds is going to get a lot of eyeballs for sure. So is New York and so is
yeah,
Berlin. Um, so yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, so now we kind of have to like, in terms of preparation, do we like, are we making a calculated risk? Be like, I'm going to stop doing heavy sleds just to do light sleds so I can go fast. And then
mm-hmm,
like, what if you're wrong?
mm-hmm.
Or do you just like have to stretch it out? And like the people who do make the right decision, are they going to have an advantage? And is that part of the sport? Or like, should it be kind of like, should we know what the demands are? Like, I kind of think the latter, but that's how it's always been, right? Like we got to Nice last year, and those sleds were hard, and we didn't know
Yeah.
they were going to be hard.
No.
So it seems just to be a little bit of like what the sport kind of is at this point.
Yeah. Okay. And then also like in Vegas, you got hit with a couple of one penalty, which was on the row, and
Mhm.
then like it looked like you were getting called back or whatever on the burpees as well. Like, do you feel like what's your opinion just overall with where the judging is at, especially for the elites? Like, what's been your experience? Do you feel like it is getting too harsh at times, or do you feel like that's what it needs to be for the integrity of the sport? Like, what's your opinions around that?
Yeah, I think it's been so much improved. I like the direction that it's going, and if it is going to be harsh, I think that that's fair. Like if there are standards to meet, like we want everyone to meet those standards. I think from a competition standpoint and just from an optics standpoint, it's like we need like if this is going to be a legitimate sport, like we need to show that it's big, it's taken seriously. Um, I like for some of those like for like the ski and the row penalties, like like I did like so I got a 10-second penalty for grabbing the handle before my feet were in the pedals, right? That's the rule. I don't know why that's an advantage. I don't know why it's the rule. It just seems like it's a rule for the sake of being a rule. It's like, okay, we have penalties on all the stations, so like how are we going to give people penalties on a row? um, Someone did give me an explanation that if Dave Claxton actually gave me this, if the row like if people start rowing before they're in the pedals, like the things might move around. So maybe it's a safety concern for like a mass participant event, which like fine, I'll accept that. Like, all right, so if that's the rules for everybody, like we can't make different rules for Elite 15 versus like the greater population. Cool, whatever. Um, so I don't think that's necessarily too hard. Like I don't think that's a rule that is like I don't understand it necessarily. Um, the burpees are so like there was just confusion, right, on that, like where, like how I was being judged, and I've been judged differently by different judges. And this was a question I actually asked in Scotland. I was like, are we to understand that we are going to be judged a specific way? Like some judges come up and they put their foot down next to where your landing point is. So the athlete kind of has a target for where their hands can go. Is the judge's foot 30 centimeters or whatever? Probably not, but like we're still like given a point where we can like kind of like see what they're judging us on. I was being judged a little bit differently. Like the foot was kind of turned in a certain way, and then either there was a miscommunication or well something was lost in translation, or one of us was just wrong, and I just got like frustrated with that. Um, so this got me thinking a lot more about like the burpees and everything else is like really objective, right? It's like 1,000 meters, like 50 meters, like just like you can't really move outside of the parameters too much, except on burpees. So I think that judging either needs to be more harsh, or there is something that's objective, like something that we can just be like yes or no. Because right now, like because it is a foot, 30 centimeters is a foot, right? Is that what they say?
Uh, uh, yeah, I think it's a little bit more than 30 centimeters. Actually, I want to say 36, 40. I might be wrong.
Okay, what? Yeah, right, exactly. We don't know, whatever it is. But like, if every athlete in the Elite 15 briefing was like, all right, draw a line that's 36 centimeters, everybody's line would be different, right? So
Mhm.
like, even like the understanding of what this distance is just like subjective, and there's no markers that can show us that. I don't know how you fix it with keeping it like moving from like down back or whatever, but it's just like the one piece that's like a little bit subjective still. Um, One thing HYROX does do is they're constantly working to improve. So I think that they will eventually have a solution here. And I'm confident in that. They've shown nothing but that. So I have great confidence that they will figure it out. But right now, it's like, you're a bit at the mercy of the understanding of the rules for that one
Yeah,
station.
yeah. What sort of on this subject, I thought one thing that is great is that on the when we're commentating in the live streams, you can now see like the number of no reps that someone has got on the wall balls, and like previously, like you'd see people put up clips of like, look at this person not getting depth, and like, but you had no idea if they were getting no reps or not, and you were just assuming they were getting reps, but there was a very high number of no reps in that last chance qualifier. It's like a
I
crazy
know.
number. So like there's more no reps than I think a lot of people were appreciating previously. So it's good to see that graphic at least.
Have you seen this sensor? It's actually an Irish company, maybe Northern Ireland, I'm not sure. It's called Output Sensor.
No.
It's like a sensor you can wear like on your quad,
Oh yeah.
and it will actually measure, like tell you where the depth is. So again, like it's kind of like an objective measure of that because the wall ball depth is still pretty tough to see. Like
Mhm.
I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes I'm like, I actually can't tell.
Yeah. 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 Um. Well, this has been great. Thank you. There are a few questions we finish up on, but I think we've touched on a lot of them previously already. But if you just had to say like, if there's one piece of advice that you've been given or you've discovered while training for HYROX that you think most people will benefit from? That's maybe not obvious, like not pace it or anything like that, but
Right.
anything that stands out for you? Is it do a little bit less maybe? Is it like avoid the overtraining or is it something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the advice that nobody wants to hear and nobody's going to take. It's like, hey, have you thought about training less? You're like, no, I'm not going to train less. I'm a hard worker. I'm a hard worker. But yeah, I mean, that is the goal, right? And kind of back with the difference between what we're doing here. The goal here is optimal performance, not to be the hardest worker, right? Like being the hardest worker, like we just like changing that idea of hard worker into like effective. I think is a shift that most people can take it in terms of like the maturity of being an athlete. So that would be my piece of advice. Is like what's actually effective, like be the most effective worker and get the best performance out of yourself as opposed to being the hardest worker. Because if it was as simple as working the most, like everybody would do it. People have
Hmm.
tried it and it doesn't work. So be the most effective worker in the room, not the hardest worker.
Okay, love it. All right, awesome. Thank you. If people want to follow you, find out more about you, your coaching, your podcast, everything you're doing, where should they go? What should they do?
Instagram, Rich Ryan 610. Check me out on YouTube. Is Rich Ryan. It's a good platform for me. I've been pretty consistent over there the past couple of months. Podcast RMR training with Ryan Kent and Meg Jacoby. Check out Greg over on Race Brain, the HYROX Rundown. Dude, those episodes rock, man. They're great. So I really
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate you coming over there and sharing your takes
It's a
on what's
pleasure. It's
going
good.
on.
It's good fun actually. I enjoy it. Matt says there's some of the most popular episodes as well.
They're the best episodes they do for sure. And like it's great because Greg, you're so good at just like having the objective and being like this person's this or this person's this. So it's nice to hear like your opinions because your job over at HYROX is to keep it straight, right? So
Mhm.
like it's great to hear your opinions over there on the HYROX rundown. And Greg, man, you've been cooking on these on the most recent coverage pieces. At Last Chance Qualifier, Nobody could have done what you were doing out there because you just like knew who everybody was, knew exactly all the stories. You like told it so well. That coverage was awesome, man. So I just wanted to give you props because you've been kicking butt.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was worried about those races. I'm not going to lie. I was like, who's going to turn up that I have no idea who they are? And we're just going to try and commentate on them. But yeah, it went well. So thank you.
You
Appreciate
you
that.
had that info on Emily. How do you pronounce her last name?
Emily Darman.
Damen, yeah. Like having the
Mm.
info on her, that was just like incredible. Like you knew who she was, you knew what she like caught a penalty earlier, so like she has some like potential that we might not have seen. Um, Real quick, last question for you: who's getting top a podium at Worlds? Let's assume you're going to pick me to win, and just we'll take that out. Okay, not me. Then give me your picks.
It's so hard. I was asked this earlier, to be honest. It's so hard. Like for me, JK's is the favourite on the men's side based on what he's done this season. Um, um, yeah, I think we're like we had a great race really between Alex Sandy and Hunter last year, and I think there's going to be something similar this year. Like Alex, be interested to see like how Hunter performs. Tim, like he's been around the sport for a long time, and he's done great in the majors this year as well, and maybe flying under the radar a little bit. Uh, and I mean yourself, Pleo. Um, I mean, I could name a lot of names.
That's when I think about it, it's like I think there's 9 athletes who can get in the top three.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's like I think maybe I sort of I skirted around this when I was asked earlier, but I think maybe a like more interesting question is like who like outside of like JK, Alex, Hunter, for example, who do you think? And like Tim is interesting. And I think Bo as well. Like Bo is another one that like because he doesn't lead at the start of the race and get a load of live stream coverage, but he
he
always
gets no
performs well.
love. He gets
Yeah,
zero love, man.
yeah. And
The amount of
like
time he can make up on the farmers and then lunges is crazy. Last race,
yeah,
I didn't even see him, and I beat him by like 10 seconds or something like that. I was like, how did he get here?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. And
incredible.
if his running can come on, um, like yeah, he could be someone that like breaks into that top three maybe and surprises a lot of people.
Because
Yeah.
the way I figure, right, like even someone like Rylan, right, like
Hmm.
who knows, like can he explode? But like, there's probably gonna be like a group of 6 who are out in front, and then not all 6 are gonna have great races. So like,
Hmm.
how many of those people fall off? And that's I think is where Bo's ceiling will ultimately end up, right? Because he's not gonna fall off. So he
Hmm.
could be like, if everyone has a good race, he could be like 8th, or he could be like 3rd. Like
Yeah,
coming up
yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
But Tim too, man. Tim just puts it out there, and he will like he's gonna go hard. He's gonna go hard. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So a matter of if he and Plyo same way. His fitness is obviously awesome. It's like how aggressive is he going to be? Like how well can his high end running translate? And like same for me too. Like I can't I can't get gapped in the first run the way I have in the past, right? Like so I'm gonna have to be a little bit more aggressive if I want to end up like where I ultimately think I'm gonna be. And that's gonna be like a major story, like how those athletes, like the me, Tim, Palaya, how we kind of factor into it.
Yeah, yeah. And then I should say like we haven't mentioned Dylan and like Dylan on his
Dylan, of
day.
course,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, on his day can be up there. And then the other two like we've not talked about the ladies, but like both the LCQ winners, like to win those races, which were stacked fields, like they're serious athletes. It's not just like
Fast
they're
times
the
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
fast
what didn't seem like
times.
a fast day.
No, it wasn't a fast course. There weren't fast sleds. It wasn't. It was hot in there. There was nothing that suggested that they should be quick times. And like both of those, like Tom, against a stacked field, but then Emily, I don't know why, but I came away thinking like Emily is one that could break into that top three that we talk about in the women's side, like Joanna, Lauren,
Wow.
Megan.
You think her high end's that high?
Yeah, I think so, and I don't know why I think that. Maybe it's just like that performance and the time that she got, but it was against really really strong field of women, and she dominated the race like from quite early on as well. So I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see like if you were going to make predictions, you'd probably talk about Lauren, Megan, and Joanna, but I think Emily has the potential to get into that conversation.
Yeah, that top five. After what I just watched the London coverage, and Sinead is like a kind of
Mm-hmm.
a dark horse too. Like she's like pretty powerful, pretty explosive, fast, seems tough. Um, just a matter of like the stage, right? Same with Emily. It's like no real like yes, the last chance qualifier is an extremely high pressure situation, but these are athletes who hadn't really raced anything prior to that, so it's like nothing to lose. The matter of how you're going to show up on the stage is for sure, but like in terms of ability level, I think both of them can be like dark horse top five.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think like you saw Sinead in the doubles as well. I think that partnership of Sinead and Lucy, like they're fast runners, so like it could be it's a little bit like you and Player as well. Like it's almost like doubles could like really suit them well. So yeah, on the double side, they're very exciting. I think.
They got a shot at the podium for sure. For sure. They could
Yeah,
win the thing.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for this. It's been a pleasure. What are you racing before Chicago?
No, I was hoping to race in Atlanta. That happened 2 weeks ago. I got a little sick after Miami. It's just like it's impossible to go to sleep after these races. Dude, you see the doubles to starts at 10 p.m. for the dudes in Chicago?
Does
10
it?
p.m., Greg. That's what time we start. Talk about being sleepy. What the heck?
Wow.
So that's also I'm not too worried about the relay. I'm gonna have like full 24 hours
Hours.
to recover. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so got a little sick. I want to do Atlanta. New York's the only one in the States. And it's just like a little bit too close, and it's not really a course that you can like kind of go and rip on. So, no, just Worlds. That's where I'll be.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for this.
Cool,
I'll see
Greg.
you out
Appreciate
there.
it. Thank you.
Cheers.